If there's one place that defines American motorsport, it's here. The sandy beaches a few miles away held races for decades. It's where NASCAR was born. They need a place to race, a superspeedway so fast and so huge that the cars could run flat out all the way around. So they built it. 1 million square yards of earth was moved to create the banking. The void left behind became Lake Lloyd. And 2.5 miles of asphalt created more than just one of the most beautiful racetracks in the world. It built the foundation of NASCAR. In the decades that followed, Daytona became hallowed ground. The trophies here mean more than any other. Win the 500, put your name on the Harley J. Earl Trophy. Win the 24 hours and strap a Rolex on your wrist. The banks are not always kind. They're not always fair. And while Daytona wins bring a statistical highlight to any career, it's the losses that make it seem pointless. But for every untimely ending, there is a triumphant healing. For every emotional victory, a mind-numbing realization.
Fighting for every inch that he could possibly get. Won the last TCR race of last year, Road Atlanta, starting things off in exactly the right style. It is victory for Tom O'Gorman and the LA Automobile team.
I won at Daytona. I earned a trophy at the World Center of Racing. The checkered flag waved for me. For me, it was not the end of a career. While it may be a highlight, it is only the beginning. It's just the best ever.
Daytona is usually the start of a season for many series, particularly stock car series, and even in IMSA, the Rolex 24. But for the SCRS Porsche Supercup, it's the end of the season. After a few grueling weeks, these drivers finally get to end off the season here at the high banks of Daytona. My name is Finny Dacuna here with Connor Horn to cover the season finale, and it's been a fantastic few weeks of racing in this series, and it's almost a bit sad in some ways to see it come to a close, but it's been some great racing, and this league in particular has still got some more racing coming up.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to watch this race to close it all out. I am, like you said, a bit sad to see it go. There's been a lot of tight racing throughout the season, but what better way to end the season than at the pretty much the World Center of Racing at Daytona? It's going to be a blast.
And qualifying is underway, but quickly before we do that, as I said in the intro, that there is more racing coming from this league, and that's a return of the normal Ferrari Challenge season. You can see the schedule up there on your screen, starting at Road Atlanta for the season opener. An interesting place to have a season opener, I might add. And then going through a few different tracks, returning to Bathurst on November 19th. That's going to be a fun track. Bathurst put on a fantastic show last week in these cars. Can't wait to see it in Ferrari machinery, and then ending all the way at Sebring, which another interesting track to end a season at. But 9 weeks of competition for these guys, and I believe the idea is to go on and off between these two series, but I'm not entirely sure with that. Well, what I am sure about is that the registration for SCRS members opens tonight, directly after the racing from Daytona is complete. And however, the registration for the public, if you are watching and you want to get into the series, will not open until the 24th to allow the normal members to get their seats in. So if you do want to race in this series, feel free to contact Eric Mickey, or Andrew Mickey for that matter. They're in charge of SCRS, and they'll get you hooked up. And again, the opening for the public is on the 24th, but if you are a member for one of the pro drivers, in particular, watching this before your race is up, the registration is going to open tonight. So with that, we go down to the track here, and we'll get to see who's exactly got the pace. Eric was joking that Andrew's particularly fast this weekend. So far in qualifying, it's holding true here with 2 minutes remaining.
Yeah, it's definitely been holding true. He's still going for another lap here. A 48.24 puts him about a tenth clear of Ryan Plord. And his next lap, he just finished a 48.3, not fast. And we'll see if he goes for another lap here. He might have something left in the tank, though. Whole field not really spread out too much. The top 7 only separated by around 7/10. Then you go back to Thomas Cooper and Steve Bunting, 8th and 9th, a bit off. Sean Foes hasn't qualified just yet, but I think he might be one to try to get up through the field at some point. Andrew Mickey's still trying to put down a hot lap, though.
And also, one I want to note of is Ryan Plord, and he's currently in second place, and he's been turning up the heat. He's notably been performing very well this season. However, coming into this race, he has separated 10 points between himself and Lidke for the AM Championship. He made up a lot of points. It was 24 points, the gap, last week at Mount Panorama. And unfortunately, I think for Plord, he's a little bit disappointed at how that went. He could have gained a lot more points, but still is on the table here. And as far as where they're running at the moment, Plord sitting in second place. Lidke, not even on the track. He's sitting back and forth. Actually, as Plord's just about to come across the line. For his time, a 148 point, no, nothing actually for that time. It was a bad lap, so he's just going to have to hold steady with a 148.3.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see these guys race for pretty much their spots for the rest of the race here. That dive into turn number 1 through the horseshoes, it's going to be really vital on the start here to see what track position these guys get.
Absolutely, see Plord spin out there in the infield. It's essentially going to wrap up qualifying at Daytona. But Connor, always every time we come here, well, as a driver, what's the big thing to watch out for?
I think you got to watch out for a pileup in one of these horseshoes. We see it in almost every series. Even when the Cup Series came here, we saw a lot of even just NASCAR in general saw a couple of big crashes in the horseshoe, and also into turn number 1. You got to be careful as Andrew Mickey puts down a 48.26, not fast enough to beat his other time, but there's the first couple of corners. You're gonna have to be really careful on this start here to make sure you just don't get into anyone. It's gonna be really tight here for the first couple of corners.
And you can see there also facts for Daytona: 12 turns, 30.56 miles. And Daytona, interesting fact at night, the road course lights are limited to limited to what? I'm sure. I think you might. I don't know if you ran out of characters or what happened there. I think he meant to say that they're, I think, limited to around like 30 or 40%. They turned them low for the 24, which is really interesting to see the track. So in is relative darkness, but you can see also track conditions for these drivers here. 80% on the track, 82 in the air. So relatively, actually not even relative, pretty cool conditions for these drivers.
Yeah, it's definitely going to help getting through this. When the tires get a bit heated up, it's definitely going to help to have a cooler situation for this little short bit of a dash race here. So hopefully, I doubt it's going to get any hotter. That'd be a miracle if it got hotter because it's already 7 o'clock in this sim. But hopefully these guys aren't sliding around all over the track here.
As the field is rolling off and away, we'll get through your lineup. Andrew Mickey starting on pole. Next to him, Ryan Plord sitting in second in the 74 machine.
And Brian Zabelski there in third. Drew Lidke, as we were talking about, a 48.5 puts him fourth. Mick Blue in fifth, and Ryan Daner sits in sixth with a 48.9.
And moving on back to seventh place, Eric Brown going to be lining with the 56 car next to Thomas Cooper in 8th in the 584. Steve Bunting in 9th, and Sean Foles will be rounding out our 10-car grid here for the AM Cup race. And again, don't worry, we got some more action from this series. We got 2 more races coming up where we combine the AM field, which is the guys you see here, with the Pro field, which will essentially double the car count and double the action, and in some ways double the excitement. But getting ready for the AM Cup race is going to be about 9 laps at Daytona. And it's about 16 minutes time. You see these guys coming to the front straightaway, not taking the NASCAR chicane, because this is proper road racing at Daytona. And down the straightaway they'll go. The pace car going to pull off, and we're going to get ready to go green. You also hear the PA announcer announcing the start of this race, and there we go. Green flag in the air here at Daytona.
That's a good jump from Andrew Mickey on the initial start. He's going to have no challengers into turn number 1 here.
We'll head to turn number 1. You're talking about pileups on the opening lap. Only 10 cars in the field, so it should be more than enough room for these guys to sort it out. And indeed they do.
Pretty orderly so far. Good job of all these guys getting sorted out. Pretty much single file through the first couple of corners here as Mickey's trying to pull away, but Ryan pulled with a big dive into a horseshoe there.
Yeah, and Ryan Daner got also made a dive, and he got ahead of Brian Chabelski. So Daner now up into 4th place after starting in 6th, already on the move forward, trying to chase down Lidke as we head to the the West Horseshoe. Horseshoe this time. Whoa, it was a big lockup in the background.
Thomas Cooper almost got way sideways, almost lost it. I don't know how he even saved that car. That was incredible.
Yeah, it was a fantastic save. If anything, he might have locked up the tires. Might be a little bit hot, but the car is still in one piece. But now coming out onto the banking, Mickey and Plord not separated by a whole lot. And this is going to be good for Plord. Has a shot at taking the lead.
Well, Mick Blue's connection just dropped. He didn't even take the start, so he'll be put back at 10th. As meanwhile, we look at the draft to see how much of an effect that has on these cars right now, especially coming out of NASCAR turn number 2, the Oval's turn 2. He's got the run to the outside, and who's going to lift here?
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be Mickey that's going to lift. Florid's going to take the lead, and he needs to get it done here. Again, this is one chance to get the championship. He's only got really 3 races to do it, and he's got to make sure he performs in all 3, because Lidke's also going to be right behind trying to score points. Speaking of Lidke, you can see him now in picture as well. He's trying to catch up to Mickey and Plord.
Yeah, these 3 right next to each other right now, and that lead, getting the lead out of that bus stop right now might not have been the move, as Plord's going to get passed again. Andrew Mickey going to the outside, and Drew Lidke following him. Not going to take it 3 wide on the first lap.
You'll see lights on, the cars are on as we head into darkness here. It's not going to get too fairly dark, I imagine, in this race. You see, Plord way too hot into turn 1, going to go way wide, but is able to bring it back on and notably stay ahead of Lidke, but we'll see how long that is going to last.
Well, Andrew Mickey didn't have the best turn 1 either. He's under attack from Ryan Daner now. That's for the 3rd position as they go side by side to the first horseshoe. And Daner's got a good run. Almost loses it off the turn, though.
Yeah, and they're side by side, and Lidke and Plord, they themselves are almost side by side here as they head through the kink, but Lidke going to fall behind. Mickey also going to stay ahead of Daner.
Yeah, Daner almost had him there, just got on the throttle too quickly out of that corner. He's going to go for a big dive in the middle of the corner, got into the dirt a little bit, losing a bit more time as Brian Chabelski creeps into the picture just a little bit. These top 5 not separating themselves just yet.
And Chabelski notably has been pretty quiet in this series. He has some decent weeks, sometimes he has some really good weeks, so this could be one of them. He can stick with the draft. And Connor, how important is the draft here?
We really only have to look at Andrew Mickey to see how important the draft is. Probably go back to last lap would be more important, but you see he's just going to gain so much more speed just because of that draft that he has. Look at the speed he's up to, 163, 164. Just absolutely gaining on him right now, but you got to make that, you got to have enough draft. You got to be close enough to make the move before you get into the bus stop or before you get into turn number 1. These straightaways, these ovals, corners, it is so important to be right behind someone to get the draft, just like Brian Daner is right behind Andrew Mickey right now.
Absolutely, you can see Daner with the run as well, trying to build up a run and make a pass on Mickey, who's just been swallowed up on the start. See him trying to look to the outside, kind of loses a little bit of ground facing the air. And now going to try to bob and weave, and will finally sort of find a way on the outside. No, he's actually going to stay back in behind Mickey, but now he's going to try to peel out as they get into turn 1, maybe deeper on the brakes. Nope, nothing for Daner. You have to settle back for 3rd. Some great fighting up at the front. And oh no, Plord, his Achilles heel has been turn 1, and it's going to cost him big as now Lidke is going to take the lead.
He was pretty far away with the lead there at the line. He was about half a second up, had a decent gap, and now he's lost the lead at turn 1. He cannot. He's got to start undershooting because he just keeps going way too deep. That puts Drew Lidke right back into the lead. His Plord's got to get him back.
Now we'll take a quick look on the replay here just to see how Plord got into the corner. You see him way offline go flying off. And again, 2nd time that he's done that too, so he needs to start being more careful, because that's going to cost him the race. And in some ways, it costs him the lead, which is not what he needs. He does not need Lidke to finish ahead of him.
Nah, he's got to go get right back to him right here. He's going to have hopefully a better run through the oval turns 1 and 2 here. We'll see what kind of run he gets. Ryan Daner not really challenging, for that third position right now. He's up, as he did pass Andrew Mickey for that third spot. Andrew Mickey, I thought he'd be up there battling for the lead right now, but he seems to be struggling right now, back to 4th.
Yeah, we'll see if he can pick up the pace here and try to climb back to Daner, if not maybe the top two. Yeah, you can see them start to break away from the pack, kind of separate out with one another as the top two break away. Ooh, Shabelski goes flying through the grass. He's going to make a big mistake and fall back into the clutches of Eric Brown now in the 56.
Yeah, he just went into that corner. He went into that bus stop way too deep. Nothing he could do, but just go through the grass, not risk going over that curb and hurting the car. Meanwhile, Florid's got the run back. He didn't make the move in the bus stop. He waited. It was a smart move for him to wait, because look at him going to be outside of Lidkia right now.
Here we go, battle for the lead between our two championship competitors in the AM category, going at it. And again, Florid, he needs to finish ahead of Lidkey to give himself, get himself closer in the points. As you can see, that side-by-side action has brought Ryan Daner into the mix. Now Daner fighting side-by-side for second place.
And Florid got a bit loose over one of the curbs there. He's going to lose that second position. Almost gets into the back bumper of Daner. That brings Andrew Mickey back into the fight. These top four right next to each other. Now Ryan Daner going for the lead of Drew Lidko out of that corner here. He's got to get back in line. Yeah,
Lidkey trying to do everything he can to defend as Daner's looking really aggressive. I didn't think he would even be close here within at least a lap or two of the leaders, but them side by side really slow them down. And now here comes Daner back on a charge. And again, we talk about getting back onto the oval, how much that draft is worth. We've seen it time and time again. And now as they come back into the oval, Daner going to be all over the back of Lidkey.
Going to lose a bit of time out of this corner here. He really did not get a good run. Instead of going for the lead on the oval, he's going to be under attack for Ryan Florid for that second position as Drew Lidkia pulls away just a little bit.
And let's see, Florid here as the speed climbs up for him. He's going to get a big draft, and he needs to kind of get past Daner. He can't really afford to be held up by him for too long. Daner going to go defensive to the inside line. Here's Florid coming out to the outside. On the right-hand side, entering the bus stop. Who's going to be braver on the brakes? Looks like Floyd's going to send in deeper, cut Daner off, and Daner almost gets rear-ended by Mickey, who's all over the back of him.
Yeah, that was a close one. These three just got really checked up because of all that, and the leader is pretty much gone. Drew Lidkia's got a decently sized gap now, maybe about a second, so that draft's not going to really be a big effect of a second-place driver now since he's that far ahead. So these guys are going to have to be careful, because if they get out of that draft, Lidkia's gone.
And we'll see if Florid is qualified ahead of Lidkey, so might just have some inherent speed to catch him back down, but he's got to stop battling with Daner, who's going to be slowing both of them down here as they head into turn one. Daner going to make contact with Florid sideways into pit road, hits the tire barrier, and is going to be out of the race.
And that is pretty huge. That was just an unfortunate error. That's huge right there. Just a little bit of contact just sent that car flying.
Take another look at it as you see them both making contact on entry, and nothing really Ryan Floyd can do from there. But we'll take a look back here. Right on board Eric Mickey, since he was right behind these guys. You can see
Andrew.
Yeah, and
the other
the other Mickey. And here they go into turn one.
A bit of a squeeze job, I guess. I don't know how he called that. Just seems like, I don't know if Floyd might have gone into the corner a bit wider than. Maybe a bit wider than Daner was expecting. That just seemed like a bit of an aggressive squeeze, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know, it's kind of hard. You can't, you might be able to say, Daner could have given more room, but it's kind of tough to tell. I'm sure Floyd's going to be mad about it either way, no matter what happened.
Yes,
that will put him all the way back in ninth place. Now these guys do have a faster pair at their disposal, so they can get their car towed back to the pits and get back out there, but unfortunately, I feel like the damage might be already done. Let's say the rest of the night Unfold is not completely out of the picture, but he's going to have a big hole to climb, Ryan Floyd, to try to get the championship. However, it's still racing going on the track for second place between Daner and Mickey.
Daner had a really bad run out of a bus stop there, and it's going to be Mickey going to the outside now. These two are racing, and I'm afraid to say Drew Lidkia is gone. Probably about 2 seconds or so up on these guys who are still side by side, almost side drafting for second position. Daner's trying to, as these two are going to be dead even at the line and going into turn number one. It's who's got the line? It's Daner who's going to have the advantage. He's going to dive into turn number one and take that position.
And he will stay clear of Mickey for now. Also in behind, his battle still brewing between Shabelski and Brown. We saw Shabelski make that mistake earlier on the bus stop and now falling into the clutches of Brown. a little bit, but that battle up ahead still closer as Mickey's almost been like a fly or a mosquito in people's ears. They've not been able to break away from him, and he's been trying his best to get back at them, but he hasn't been able to hold the spot.
Yeah, and it's just gonna let the leader get away more and more. The more these guys are side by side, just the easier it is for Drew Lidke to just pull away for an easy win. Daner way too deep there. Mickey's gonna get the advantage, but if Daner's gonna hold it around the outside, just barely to get back into the positioning.
Yeah, and now he's going to be on the inside of this next corner, coming back onto the oval, but got a really poor run. And even Mickey, too, was struggling with the run as well. Both these guys, again, as you're saying, slowing each other down. Lidke now 3 seconds ahead of second and third place now as they're on the oval. And you can imagine they're going to be side by side yet again.
Thomas Cooper hitting some of the cones coming into the oval section, as these two are just pretty much battling for second now. There is no way they're going to get to Drew Lidke unless Lidke somehow makes a mistake. Lidke just really needs to stay on the track right now. As Daner goes for the move into the bus stop, he gets that move back done. Mickey's going to have to chase him back down with the draft again.
Now that draft, it's really helpful if you're the guy in behind, really annoying if you're the guy in front. Can't continue to break away from the guys you're battling with. And actually, it doesn't look like Mickey's getting. Now he's starting to pick up towards the end as they come back on the front straightaway here. Might have thought he might not have enough to make a pass, but here comes Mickey with a big charge. It should be enough to at least get alongside, and it looks like he slowed it down. So Daner going to stay ahead into turn 1.
And Daner's going to go with the protective line, goes to the inside into turn number 1 as Mickey tries to gear it up for a big run onto this little kink over here. He's not going to get the run, so maybe Daner can try to pull away and maybe try to do something to get back to the leader, but I think it's too little too late unless that Drew Lidke machine makes some sort of mistake.
Yeah, that's going to be the big thing, too, and I can imagine Lidke, he's going to be driving really easy. At this point, even if he finishes second or third, that's still really good for him, so imagine he's probably back off the pace, maybe a little bit here and there just to make sure he doesn't spin out or lock up. We've seen quite a few driver mistakes, on this track. And do you have any particular reason as to why?
I don't know. Maybe it's just the track that they're at Daytona. Maybe the pressure. I'm not quite sure. It just seems like there's a lot of these corners where you're just barely turning before you get onto the brakes, and sometimes you just lock up accidentally. It's not the most difficult of tracks, I would say, but it's definitely one of the more intimidating ones. So maybe that contributes to all these drivers making some sort of mistake now and then.
Yeah, and especially when you talk about the braking too, because this car is notorious for locking up with the brakes, and it's being a difficult car to slow down. Or according to see Andrew Mickey flashing the headlights to Ryan Daner, telling him that he's still there and not letting him out of his sights. But the braking is always really tricky in this car. We've seen Plord struggle a few times into turn 1. We've seen these guys in particular struggle in the dog legs trying to get these cars low down, and still Mickey flashing his headlights trying to distract Daner here. When they come by the line next time, it's going to be 2 laps to go. Now you see Mickey peeling to the right-hand side here to make a pass.
He's going to get a bit of a side draft, possibly. He's going to get the run off the outside line out of NASCAR turn number 4. As they're going to side draft. Daner almost banging doors with him right now. Door to door, wheel to wheel for the second position. Dead even at the line again. It's Daner who's got the advantage.
And Daner going to throw it into turn 1 ahead of Mickey to stay clear of him. No other real battles going on at the moment. Most of the guys still in the order, so we're going to keep on this battle for a second as they almost make contact into the first horseshoe. Now Daner going defensive on the inside. Mickey trying to get a decent run on the outside, but nothing quite yet.
The more he flashes the lights, the more upset he probably gets with Ryan Daner right now. He really wants that second position. He believes he's faster, but he just cannot get the move done, whether he gets a draft or not. He just can't complete the pass. Even if he does get by, Daner's probably going to have draft at some point to get Mickey back, so it's going to be really frustrating for Mickey this last lap and a half or so as he continues to flash his lights.
There's always a question as a driver, how much light flashing is too excessive. You see Daner sideways coming out onto the oval. I think every chance he gets, or when the car's not turning, he's just trying to flash him as much as possible.
It might work. You never know. It might blind him. It's worth a try, I suppose.
And it's going to be something here. He's got a big run now heading to the bus stop. Not going to be enough for Daner to really stop here. There goes Mickey for the dive on the inside. Who's going to give up? Who's going to keep going at into the bus stop? Both of them kind of are, but Daner going to have to back off more as Mickey gets second as Daner makes a mistake.
And we'll see if Daner could even have another crack at Andrew Mickey here. I don't think he has enough speed as he's actually parking on the track. Did he get a slowdown there, possibly?
I think that's what it is. He's got
Here comes Zabelski. Oh, he almost hit Sabelski there. Sabelski's going to go up to a third. He was catching those two for a little bit there, but I don't think he was going to get there. Ryan Daner cost himself a spot as now Eric Brown's flashing the lights to get by Ryan Daner. Meanwhile, we're on the white flag lap as Drew Litka is still far gone.
Yeah, no, we'll take a look here at that mistake Daner made really quick before we go back up to the lead. Here's another look at it. Heading into the bus stop, and I think it was on exit.
Yeah, I was on the last right-hander getting out of that corner. He just cut that curve a little bit too much.
Riding on board with Daner now. Oh yeah, he just got loose on the first part, and that just kind of threw the car in the direction of cutting the track in. It almost looked like he got away with murder, but it wasn't quite.
Just not quite. Almost got away with it. I don't think he was going to get back to him anyways. Eric Brown's flashing the lights at Daner now. Seems like everyone's giving him the business right now as he got by Eric Brown. I don't think, we'll see if he has another crack at Sabelski, but I don't believe that's going to work as Drew Litka, still a decent gap. It seems like that Andrew Mickey might be starting to catch him a little bit, but definitely too little too late.
Yeah, and I mean that would make sense. Mickey, our pole sitter, just the race pace, I guess, quite wasn't there. I don't even want to say that. I guess might have just not been aggressive enough. I think for the 86, and Mickey's a great defensive driver, but attacking, I'm not going to say he's not a specialty, but he's not been as good as the other guys around him. Lidke, however, he's done a fantastic job this race after starting back in fourth to race his way up to the front position. He's just got to get past essentially the bus stop, and it's going to be smooth sailing from here. Yeah, for Lidke, this is not just going to be big for winning a race. It's going to be big for the championship as well. It's not going to be all said and done just yet, as Floyd's still running on the track in 9th place, but it's going to be a big mountain to climb because out of turn 4, NASCAR turn 4, I should say, Drew Lidke is going to take home the win in the AM Cup race. Great job for him. Andrew Mickey going to finish back in 2nd, Chabelski in 3rd.
Eric Brown and Daner back here adoring for the 4th position. I don't know who's going to get it. I think Daner. Oh, Eric Brown hard into the outside wall. They were adoring for that final spot there.
14 thousandths of a second at the line in Porsche 911. That's incredible to watch. Thomas Cooper in 6th, Steve Bunting in 7th, Sean Foes in 8th, Ryan Porter in 9th, and Mick Blue in 10th will round out your finishing order. But we got to first definitely take a look at that finish here because, oh boy, that was something.
Yeah, that was very... I didn't expect those two to be side by side. I didn't think Eric Brown could get back to him, but the draft definitely helped him there. Brown had the advantage coming into a tri-oval, but a bit of a shove out of the way by Daner got that position, that 4th position, right back.
Let's see if I can get a decent look at this. And there's at the line right there. Is by just about the front of the wheel is what Daner got him. But I'm trying to see if I have another view. I'm not really set up for photo finishes on the road course here because that's not something you typically expect. I honestly think I might actually make a camera while we got a little bit of a break here to make sure we get that. I don't think I have much of anything else really. Here's just an alternate angle of the finish.
I think Eric Brown needs a backup car.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was a hard hit into the wall for him.
That was big. He almost had him. He had him. He actually got the position out of the bus stop. For some reason, Daner was clear of him. Daner made some sort of mistake out of that bus stop again that let Brown get back by, but Daner used the draft to his advantage to get back alongside.
Here we go, finally got my replay out in order. Here's just another look at the finish between these two guys who started adoring each other off in NASCAR Turn 4. And all down the straightaway, it looks like a finish you would see in a stock car race, but again, between two 911s, there's a big hit there for Daner, and that's essentially what I think helped him get the win, was that shove that moved Eric out of the way. And at the line there, you can see the gap essentially between these two drivers. But some excellent stuff here for the AM Cup race. It's not done yet because in just about, I want to say 10 to 20 minutes, we'll be getting ready for Super Cup race number 1. But for now, we're going to take a little bit of a break, and we'll be right back in a little while.
Would you like to have a career in racing, and if so, what would you like to do, Dale?
Well, I want to be a race car driver someday. It's all I've ever known, racing.
What did you want to be when you grew up? So many people live a life of what if. Go to school, go to college, get a 9-to-5. This is how we support our dreams, with a safety net. Because we're unsure about taking a leap of faith. Because we're afraid. As we grow, we cross things off our list of dreams. We cut them down, make them realistic. Having control of things is reassuring. But for some, the rush of being out of control is what gives them life. Some say racing cars is reckless. Maybe they're right. Out of bounds isn't just cheating, it's cheating death. Football fields made up in seconds. Decisions made in instants. For the people that climb behind the wheel of these cars, they're not driving it. They become part of it. It's an extension of the body. As a child, I looked up to these people, faces hidden by helmets. The less you saw of the driver, the more believable it became that they were, in fact, just part of the machine. It's easy to forget that inside the cockpit is someone just like us, but with the mindset that fear is a motivation, not a barrier. But the reality is, race car drivers are not like us. They never cross anything off their list of dreams. They just keep writing more. Daytona.
This is the finish of the Daytona 500. Side by side.
Le Mans. Indianapolis. Monaco. Places that used to be just places, now international symbols of victory. To those that enjoy the spectacle of racing, the 2 feet of concrete and steel cables are a wall between us and them, between sitting in the grandstands and standing in victory lane. These same walls are a stark, immovable reminder that racing drivers put their lives on the line for the sake of the thrill and entertainment. Despite the risk, despite the heartbreak, despite the cost. There are some on the sidelines who are fascinated by the danger. They are fascinated by speed, fascinated by the undying desire to be just a little bit better. Their dreams erased by geography, finances, or the lack of a famous last name. There are some who once wished to be a race car driver, but aren't, because they didn't get the chance. And they thought they'd spend the rest of their lives watching their heroes on television, or from the other side of the fence. They thought it was impossible to climb into a race car, so they crossed it off their list. But it's not impossible. There is a ticket to the other side of the fence. For those who want it bad enough, this is your chance.
My father's father had 2 brothers and a sister. His older sister, Hazel, had married a man named Jim Yunker, and he was involved in the bottling business early on, as early as 1906 in Indianapolis, and he sold flavors. He would have had grape, cream soda, blood orange, ginger ale. In 1915, he got the franchise for Coca-Cola in Indianapolis. So then we fast forward 20 years later to 1935, Jim Yunker approached my grandfather and his 2 brothers and said the franchises in Kokomo, Logansport, and Peru are available for sale, and you guys want this. Trust me, you want to get in the Coca-Cola business.
All right, welcome back to Daytona for the SCRS Porsche Supercup. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances with our scoring software, we're having technical difficulties where we can't get our software to work at all. There's not really much that I know how to do at the time. I've tried everything I know how to do, but we haven't been able to get anything to really work at the moment. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna get this race shown at some point. I'm going to be saving the replay of this race, and we'll work out if we're going to stream this at a later date or what's going to happen, but rest assured we will get these races up on the internet at some point, but for now, for tonight at least, we're going to be cutting the stream short. So unfortunately I have to say, you know, my name is Daytona with Connor Horn. We'll be signing out, which is a bit unfortunate for the end of the season, but we'll get something to you guys shortly, but thank you for watching.